Hello everybody. So today we're going to learn about the software of FumeFX. So we are using 3ds Max 2020 for this tutorial, and FumeFX is a plugin that needs to be installed externally. So you can go to the FumeFX site and install it from there. Now, FumeFX, as you all know, is a really powerful software for creating fire and smoke. Now, here I'll be showing you the very basics of FumeFX. So the first thing that you do is we have to create a FumeFX container. To do that, we go here, hit on FumeFX, and we click on the FumeFX box. Here we can click and drag as we want the height and the length and the width of the box to be, and I can hit the W button, and here we have the FumeFX box. Now I can go on the modify tab, and if I hit the settings button, a pop-up opens. Here, as you can see, this is the FumeFX window where we will be adjusting almost all of the settings. So currently I'm using FumeFX 5.0.7, so it would be better if you had this version so you can follow along the tutorial, or any other version would also work. So let's go ahead and create a simple source. Right, as you can see, we have a simple source create. So what we are actually doing when we are starting the simulation is we are creating cache files, so that, as you can see, I can scrub without any buffering. So what the cache file does is it allows me to view in real time the simulation which I have already simmed. If I go here in the default path, I can see that here are the 41 frames, the cache files of the 41 frames, and it's taking only about 143 KB maximum per frame. So that is not much for now. We can go ahead and go on to the sim tab. Now in the sim tab, we can control the settings of the simulation. As you might have guessed, we can go ahead, change the buoyancy of the smoke, the ignition temperature. More about this in another tutorial, but right now let's focus on the basics. Here we can say change the turbulence to 1, and we will get a much more detailed smoke. As you can see, it's swirling around as if there is lots of turbulence right now, and even the smoke is spreading in a weird fashion. So this is the wavelet turbulence tab, where the more we increase this value, the more lower spacing we'll get, and as you can see, we'll get a more detailed simulation. Let's go ahead to the render tab. Now this is a very important tab. Here we can change the color of the fire. Say I want it more darker. You can see that it is changing the color in the viewport also. We can change the smoke color. Say I want it darker, right? And I can increase the shadow fall off, and yeah, let's go on the illumination tab. Now here you can see we have lights, but nothing is there in that box. That's because we haven't created any lights. So we can go right here, we can create standard lights. Let's create a target direct light. Let's get this right here, and let's create one more light. Let's make it a copy, and let's have it somewhere here. right? Now we need to adjust a few settings in the light. So what we can do is go on the modify tab. We have to turn on shadows, use global settings and change this to ray trace shadows. Then we go on shadow parameters and turn on atmosphere shadows. From here we can change the intensity. Let's make it say 2. And now even if we render it, nothing is going to happen. That's because we haven't added the lights. So what we have to do for the lights to affect the fire and smoke is we have to pick the lights. So here, as you can see, I have added both the lights and now they are going to affect it. One more thing that you need to make sure is in the render tab that under smoke, cast shadows and receive shadows is on. If that is not on, your smoke will be entirely flat and it's more like your light won't really create any shadows and affect the smoke. We can turn on multiple scattering. Let's reduce the depth. This gives more depth to the fire and adds more detail, makes it look a bit more realistic. This is the object source tab from where we had created the object source earlier. So from here we can change the smoke density. If we want more smoke, we can make it 5. Nothing is going to happen because we have to resim it. We'll get about 2.5 times the smoke which we previously had, as you can see here. So much smoke is not looking good, but let's go ahead with it. Now to render, we need to first open our render setup. Make sure that scanline renderer is selected. Let's change this to custom and let's go make it 1920 by 1080 and let's render it. As you can see, we're getting a nice smoke there. The fire is not looking so good. It's being covered by the smoke entirely. And yep, so let's go ahead and delete the source. Now if you see, the fire is still going to be there. That is because FumeFX, the FumeFX container, is essentially using the cache which we had already created. So if we don't want that and we want to overwrite the cache, what we can do is just sim from the start and we have overwritten the cache. So nothing is there. Now let's go ahead and create a sphere. Let's make it, say so big. And what we can do is, let's select the FumeFX container. And if we go on object source, what we can do is create an object source. Let's pick our object and let's sim. Now as you can see, the fire is being emitted from the object. This is a very useful tool. So we can make somewhat of a Ghost Rider effect using this, and a rolling tire in flames and many more effects. Let's go ahead and render this. You see, it's looking quite good. And this is it for object source. Now the next thing we can do is, let's go ahead and delete the object source from here. Let's delete this sphere. What we can do is create a particle system. Let's go ahead and create a standard flow. And as you can see, we have gone ahead and created a particle system. If I go back, let's reverse this. And as you can see, there are particles being emitted. I don't want the particles to be emitted so fast, so I can change the speed of the particles, say to about 100. And now what I can do is go on the FumeFX tab and I can create a particle source. From here I select the particles and I can select the event. Now the next thing you'll notice is we have some sort of yellow circles around our particles. That is basically showing our radius. We can control the radius from here. So the lesser the radius, the better it is for us, since we'll get more definition in our fire. So we can reduce this to say about 0.6 and we can go ahead in our particle view and increase the amount, say to 20,000. Now from here we can also add a couple of forces to these particles. So let's go ahead and create them. We can go ahead and create a vortex. Right, if you see nothing is happening, that's because we have to go here. We have to insert an operator called force, and under this we add the vortex. So as you can see, the particles have been immediately affected and they're spinning around the vortex, and after some time they die. So first let's go ahead and override our previous cache, and let's start by simming. So as you can see, we're getting a really cool effect, like some sort of a tornado effect. Let's stop it here. Let's go ahead and render it. So as you can see, it's going to take more time to sim, since it's going to be more high detailed. Okay, so one thing we did not do is go in the particle view and just delete this, so that the particles which we created, they don't actually represent some sort of a cube like we can see here. So you can go ahead and render it, and here we have our effect. In motion, this effect is going to look really good. So yep, this is it for this tutorial. You can go ahead and play around with a couple of settings with our object sources. You can say animate your object and use an object source. You can try different forces on your particles and create really cool effects. And yep, I hope you like this tutorial, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our channel. We'll be posting some more amazing FumeFX tutorials. This is just the basics, so to get better at it, do have a look at our upcoming videos, and I hope you have a good day. See you around.